Hello. Hello. Sorry it took a little extra there. I only noticed at the last minute that my audio wasn't getting sent over correct. So, took a couple of seconds to fix it. Hey, Sun Eater, how you doing? So today, we're going to look at a couple of things. Unearth Arcana just put out the look at Druids and Paladins for 1D&D. So we're going to take a look at that. I also have the Project Black Flag playtest packet. Number 1, or 1.1, which I find completely ironic. I haven't looked at them too much yet. I did look a tiny bit at what was being said the day it came out on Twitter, which I think was yesterday. Yesterday's kind of a blur for me. I had this giant, massive sinus headache, which is why I didn't stream. But, that said, I haven't taken a look yet, and my hopes and expectations are a bit low. So we'll see. We'll see. And if we have time, I also have one other thing for us to look at. I just created a new setting for Celestia. It's called Blood and Iron. And it's a little bit darker than Celestia is. I've had a lot of people ask about, like, a villain type campaign where people get to be bad guys. Blood and Iron is a good thing for that. And we'll take a look at some of that stuff if we have the time. So, that said, let's hop back to this and get started. So, Druid. Channel Nature, that is definitely feeling new. Druidic, I'm assuming that's supposed to be a language. Spellcasting, yes. We all knew they were spellcasters. Nature's Aid. Druid subclass. When I look at these, I keep forgetting that you get your subclass at 3rd level in here. Since I made it 2nd level for the first one in Celestia. It feels a little bit awkward. We're gonna take a look. I'm just reading off. Might of the Land. You know, I don't see. Maybe Wild Shape is part of Channel Nature. Aquatic form definitely seems like you can transform, but geesh, 7th level to be able to swim in the ocean. That's maybe a little too extreme. I mean, I could see like 5th level maybe. Yeah. It feels really late. Tiny critters. I'm just gonna say now, I don't know why tiny critters would come so late. Usually, you scale up. You start with tiny things, and then you work up to big things. Having tiny critters at level 11 feels a bit weird. Just gonna put that out there. Yeah, I mean, everyone knows the druid turning into a squirrel or some sort of bird is a good starting point for them. Not being able to do tiny critters like that kind of feels out of place. Alternating forms, wild resurgence. You know what? Another thing that strikes me right now, these features that all are related to Wild Shape. If you're not adding anything to channel nature except wild shape, why would you like... Oh, and I think I had some echo. Sorry if you were hearing echo. But yeah, why would you add these very specific features when it's not sounding like it's just wild shape? Anyway, that's just a notice. And then Archdruid at 18th. Beast spells, which seem really late. Very few campaigns get to level 17. So you never get spells as a beast, apparently, until really, really late. We're gonna have to really take that apart when we get there. Alright, so we've looked at these. Spell progression seems okay. It looks slightly behind normal 5e wizard, which I don't exactly like super much. But let's hop over. Normal advancement, intelligence, wisdom, choice of 2, totally normal. Herbalism kit, fine. Simple weapons. I'd swear they would get something more than just simple weapons before. Maybe not true, but it feels like it should be. Let me make this a little bigger. Starting gear, we're gonna ignore that. So, channel nature. By the way, channeling energy is something I'm adding to Celestia Mystics, as well as all Celestia spellcasters. They all just get channel some sort of energy. It's usually magic energy. For mystics, it's nature in some cases. We'll see. I haven't actually got around because I got sidetracked by blood and iron, so that's what happens when I work on stuff. I need a team. I definitely need a team. Anyway, this all seems normal up here. How it comes back after it's used. Wild shape does seem to be a magic action. One form, animal of the land. That's not looking great. We'll definitely have to look at what these new forms apparently are supposed to be. Okay, in hours equal to half your druid level. That's not bad. All kind of seems normal. So, I'm gonna say right now, this whole note right here, because I just read it, that's a bunch of crap. Yes, your proficiency bonus scales with your character level and not with, like, a specific level. So multi-classing helps it. That is not a reason to lock uses of Channel Divinity. And it doesn't even match proficiency bonus. I mean, if you were gonna match proficiency bonus, maybe I'd say that's fine. if you really couldn't deal with multi-classing, where you get more uses, uh, you'd really want about 3 levels to make it even worth it. So you have the subclass, and therefore extra things you could do with channel, well, divinity, as they were talking about. I don't have a problem at all with that, though Celestia takes multi-classing in different ways. So, but yeah, I don't think this was a good idea either. I mean, I can see why they did it, why they thought they needed to, but uh, if someone really wants to min-max, I would not stop them. I know some people get off on that sort of thing, so. And Druidic is the secret language of druids, so yes, it is Thieves' Cant, but for druids. Which is hilarious. And sure, Suneater, you can always help me out. Spellcasting, again, prepared spellcasting. I've already talked about my thoughts on that, which is that it's not entirely a bad thing, but I don't think it helps the feel. Nature's Aid. Oh, at 2nd level, you suddenly get other things you can do. You can now have companions and healing blossoms. Healing blossoms feels a lot like the berry spell. The little healing berries. I forget what it's called. Good berry. That's it. I was blanking on it. That's my first thought, though when I look at it, it's a burst of healing. Though this is a pretty good healing ability. In fact, this might be better than what the clerics got in the last UA. Although that's total for everyone in the sphere. Yeah, I don't like that part either. It's only equal to your wisdom modifier as D4s. So, 5 is pretty much the max, so 5d4. That is not a lot, especially when you get to higher levels. And you don't have a lot of uses of channel nature. So, yeah, I think this is a bad way to do this. If it were going to be everyone in the area would stay okay, especially since you're not even getting a +5 until way later. Usually you can't at the start, because that's a 20 in wisdom that you would need. You're usually starting with like a 3, 3d4, which is 3 to 12 HP, spread out over everyone in a 10-foot radius. That's not a lot of healing. And yes, wisdom tombs are a thing, but usually that comes in your later levels as well. And you start pushing like stupid high levels of wisdom in like 17 plus campaigns. Wild Companion, which is apparently just find familiar, with, I guess, other options. Yeah, I don't know why you wouldn't get that at 1st level. I don't see any reason why not to. Yeah, this whole thing with channel nature, I don't think they did that very well. You should get all of these at 1st level. And they definitely need to match channel nature with proficiency bonus at the very least. I mean, 4 uses of Channel Nature, when you might need some instant healing at later levels, you just don't have anything to work with. They're way too stingy. Druid subclass, Might of the Land. At 5th, you can finally get a climb speed and multi-attack. I mean, I can sort of understand multi-attack, but climb speed, you can't even be an ape until level 5, apparently. Yes. For Celestia, I actually do a familiar system, which I'm trying to update again. I don't quite like where it sits now. I think it's maybe a little too weak. Though familiars aren't really meant to be big in combat. They're meant to aid you, not like be combatants. So, a lot more stealth features for them, probably, or like flyby, so they don't have to end helping you. I think that makes them a lot more interactive, and I'm definitely working on that. It's one of my many different things I'm working on. I need some good inspiration. But yeah, that whole climb speed thing, that needs to be, like, 2nd level. I can see not getting climb speed at, like, 1st level. Sort of. I mean, a warrior can just have climb speed at, like, 2nd level, or a ranger. If they got, like, the right feat, if they're a human, no more than 4th, figuring you're relying on your first feats. So, yeah, this seems a little too late and arbitrary. This is also part of why I got rid of doing feats as part of the class and moved them out of the class to your character level. For Celestia, obviously. Aquatic form. Yeah, still too late. Should be like 5th at latest. Aerial form at 9th. Also probably too late. I know flight in D&D is problematic, but 9th level seems still too high. You're already getting magic items that can give you flight, at least for a brief time, and those start at like 6th, 7th level. So this feels a little too late. You also can't be a bird until quite a ways in. And apparently tiny creatures are out until 11th. And I don't see the point of that. I can see the point for bigger creatures. Like, you can't be a giant-sized creature or, like, a huge-sized creature until later levels. But tiny ones don't give you a lot of advantage. Why in the world you would do that? Oh, wow. And you can't even stay in a tiny form for more than 10 minutes. And your damage is halved. Sure. Let's give you an 11th level feature that is utter crap. Because that's what this is. There's no good part to this. Tiny creatures are more for, like, infiltration and, like, annoyance factor. They are not really combat focused. I mean, those are things like squirrels, mice, and you only get 10 minutes as these creatures. Yeah, yeah. Alternating forms, your 13th level feature, lets you wild shape not as an action, but a bonus action. And guess what? In Celestia, if you can do the equivalent of wild shape, it's a bonus action. Well, while we're still under 5e, when we switch to Celestia RPG, it's a one action segment ability out of 3. So, yeah. Equivalent to a bonus action. I don't know. That also feels very useless. Okay, 15th is a little weird. So, you use Wild Shape, and you can use Healing Blossom as part of the same use of Channel Nature. I don't know, that still doesn't feel like a 15th level ability. I could see that as like 11th. There feels like a lot of padding in here. Yeah. Yeah. I can see that earlier. Or you can just not even need that if you just changed out how Channel Nature works. In my campaign, I would definitely have already done that. Yeah, you can finally spellcast at 17th level while you're in your wild shape form. Yeah, that's way too late too. I can maybe see that 13th level. Okay, Sun Eater, have fun with your lurk. And Archdruid just lets you regain 1 use of Channel Nature every time you roll initiative. Yeah, I don't get that either. Yes, enjoy the lurk. That's what I said. I'm always fine with people listening, if they can't necessarily interact. So, let's see. Wild shapes. Oh, they get their own stat blocks that scale, and rather than getting... Okay, this sucks. There's no flavor to these. Yeah, literally, they're just generic stat blocks. Like Bestial Strike. That could be claws, that could be fangs. But if you turn into a snake, there's no, like, poison. Because they're all the same stat block, and you don't get any additional features. Yeah, I don't like any of this. Not a single thing here. There's no flavor to them. I mean, as far as this goes, a bear, a deer, a horse, a cat, a dog, and a velociraptor are all the same stats. Uh, I mean, I can see why you might want to do a stat block like this. It's a lot less work for the GM. I would never ask my players to do this, though. Because this sucks. There's no flair at all. A bear and a deer might as well be the same thing. Yeah, I turn into an animal of the land. That's it. Yeah, I don't get any other features, so... yeah. They're just an animal of the land. Why do we even have to describe it? I mean... true, it's less work, but not even really for the player. I mean, the player just has to look at, like, some lists of creatures and go, I think those would be fun to have. Or me, as a GM, I could just create a list of creatures that they have access to. And have everything set up. In fact, that is pretty much what I do. And Creature of the Sea, all the creatures are still the same as well. Yeah, there's just no flair. And same for Animal of the Sky. They all do have flyby, so the one feature from the owl that everyone wants is actually a thing. But you might as well just be, a Circle of the Moon Druid, which already gets an unarmed strike as a bonus action, swift transformation, which makes, what level is it? The 13th level feature, useless at 3rd level. Sure, let's do that. Your bonus action to wild shape. So that 13th level druid feature, we're just gonna give you at 3rd level because we realize it's totally useless. And 6th level for elemental wild shape. So theoretically, you could turn into it doesn't even say. Oh, it's just any existing form gets a damage type, and you get resistance. That is even more worthless. Sure, you gain resistance to one type of damage. Yep. And it's cosmetic otherwise. Well, I mean, you do damage as that type as well, but you become Pikachu rather than, like, a rodent. I just don't feel that. And really, it's not even a rodent. It's just generic animal of the land with thunder. Yeah, okay. You do get extra elemental damage. And you get the Alter Self spell. without expending a spell slot at 14th level. Yeah. What level is that spell? 3rd, maybe? You could already have had it for 8 levels, if I am getting it right. I don't see the point. Alright, well, let's look at the Paladin. Hopefully that feels better. Lay on hands, normal, divine smite, fighting style. Well, fighting style is a plus, though I know they're not my Celestia fighting styles. Obviously. Channel divinity, paladin subclass. Extra attack, faithful steed. I think this is new. They're doing a lot more companions in this one. Because we just had Ranger earlier, and they have potential animal companions. This gets a steed. Druid gets an animal companion feature. I don't remember if I'm missing any others, but there are what feels like a lot of animal options. We'll have to take a lot more of a look. You get your aura at 7th level, which seems a bit late, but maybe that's just me misremembering it. Abjure foes. I'm not even sure what that means. Radiant strikes. Okay, that sounds cool. You're at 11th level, though. Let's see if it's actually worth it. 1 more aura at 13th. Restoring touch, whatever that is, at 15th. Aura expansion at 17th. And divine conduit at 18th. These all look normal over here. Lay on hands. Wow, that is underwhelming. Apparently, you just get a pool of lay on hands, which is equal to 5 times your paladin level. So if you're a 2nd level paladin, you get 10 points of healing for an entire day. Yeah, because it replenishes when you take a long rest. So 10 points for an entire day. That is nothing. And it's 5 hit points to remove the poisoned condition. Wow, talk about expensive. Spellcasting again. Divine Smite. That all seems normal enough. Fighting style again. Channel divinity. Which seems to be just divine sense. Yeah, that's not even worth it. I don't think I would ever use that if I were a paladin. I mean, maybe in some very specific circumstances. It's probably not really worth it, though, at 3rd level. I know I certainly wouldn't feel like I got anything out of it. Oh, and Faithful Steed seems to just be the Find Steed spell, which you can cast once a day. Great. Great. You wait until 5th level for that. Obviously, their spellcasting isn't all that great. So, I guess that sort of makes sense. But I'd rather have that part of Channel Divinity. Yeah, let's just do Find Steed as a Channel Divinity feature. Uh, it's a lot better than Divine Sense. And you'd get it 2 levels earlier. Yes, I like that a lot better. Our protection seems okay. Bonus to saving throws, all normal stuff. Abjure foes. As a magic action, you can expend 1 use of your Channel Divinity to overwhelm foes with Divine Awe. You can daze or frighten, and it works on humans. But it seems to be filling in for Turn Undead, which apparently paladins don't get in this edition. I don't remember if they do in 5e or not. Celestia doesn't do the divine parts, so it's been a while since I actually looked at if they get Turn Undead or not. Okay, this is a nice damage boost with Radiant Strikes. They just get an extra 1d8 radiant damage on every successful hit. Perfectly fine. 11th level seems kind of suitable for that too. Maybe a little earlier. I could see it instead of Abjure foes, really. Which itself should be kicked down quite a lot. In fact, kind of like Druid, I would get rid of the Faithful Steed by bundling that with Channel Divinity. I'd push Aura of Protection to 5th, Abjure Foes to 7th, Radiant Strikes down to 9. I guess that pushes Aura of Courage to 11. Which seems fine. It's about not being able to frighten allies. And 15th is when you can finally cure blinded, charmed, dazed, deafened, frightened, paralyzed, or stunned. And it takes up 5 hit points from your healing pool. At 15th level, 15 times 5, 75 points in your healing pool. It's finally gotten up to a decent amount. Though that's still not a lot for a whole day. Yeah. As far as curing these goes, 5 hit points isn't much at that point. But I would still send this further down. Also stingy on the range of your aura. I want to say it used to be 20 foot. I mean, heck, if you want to pad these somewhere, you can make it 10 feet to start, then 20, now 30 at 17th level. I would totally go with that. And 18th is not worth having again. It's whenever you roll initiative, you regain 1 use of your Channel Divinity. Yeah. That seems underwhelming. Oh, breaking your oath. A paladin tries to hold to the highest standards of conduct, but even the most dedicated paladin is fallible. Sometimes the right path proves too demanding, and sometimes the heat of emotion causes a paladin to transgress their oath. So with a broken vow, you typically seek absolution from a priest of the same faith or from another paladin of the same order. The paladin might spend an all-night vigil in prayer. After the rite of confession and forgiveness, the paladin starts fresh. You know, I've never liked this oath system. I'm just gonna put this here. If you're gonna have an oath, I think anytime you break that oath in some way, you're suddenly kicked to the curb. Seems a bit extreme in very fallible humans. Maybe if you, like, butcher an entire town and, you're some peaceful, loving paladin, I can see why that would be an issue. You know, the whole falling to the dark side for Anakin in Star Wars. Yes, that would definitely break your oath. And you should be probably immediately kicked out. However, there's some very minor things that can fall under your oath. And I don't think those should be held against you at the same level. Maybe your power flutters some as you realize that your actions have consequences. I would totally roleplay that instead of just, you broke your oath. It also allows for a corruption path. The paladin can get away with a few things, and so maybe they keep getting teased into these situations. But over time, this wears them down, and suddenly they do not honor their oath properly. And they don't seem to care anymore. Actually, if a paladin willfully violates their oath and shows no sign of repentance, the consequences might be more serious. At the DM's discretion, an impenitent, that's a not often seen word, paladin might be forced to take a more appropriate subclass, or even to abandon the class and adopt another one. Abandon the class and adopt another one. Is it just me, or does that maybe seem a little radical? Yeah, wow, okay, I mean, I could see as a DM if someone really, I don't know. The problem here is the roleplay can very much be that the player might not feel regret for any number of reasons. To add the option where the DM can force them to stop being a paladin and have to take something else seems a bit extreme. And obviously, they're leaving that to the DM, but even mentioning that as an option, I mean, it's always been an option. A DM can just say, you've gone too far. Your oath has been broken. You cannot regain your oath. And anti-paladins are something some people like. The dark opposite, for instance. I think that's what the Death Knight is supposed to be. Obviously, they're dead. But, yeah. Anyway, let's look at the subclass. Oath of Devotion. Oh wow, there are a lot of tenets. Honesty. You can't lie or cheat. Okay, I think every party is gonna have an issue with this. With your paladin hindered by this, they literally have to not talk to anyone. I mean, you literally shouldn't be able to learn deception. I mean, that's what this says to me. Especially with all this up here. Unless you think they should have to repent after any time they tell a lie. And until they do, they can't access their powers. That seems a bit extreme. I could see try to not lie or cheat. And your word should be your promise. But literally don't lie or cheat. Seems a bit restrictive. Especially when paladins usually have a pretty good charisma value. A lot of parties have them as one of their negotiators. You've pretty much ruled out one aspect of play, which, from a role-playing perspective, sounds very bad. Courage, never fear to act. Though caution is wise. So what breaks that? It's very unspecific. Compassion. Aid others, protect the weak, and punish those who threaten them. Show mercy to your foes, but temper it with wisdom. Do you have to give every bum some gold? At least aid others and protect the weak. Sure seem to have the bum or panhandler as part of them. And yes, there are a lot of issues with not telling any lies. You might not even be aware of it. Obviously, that's given to the GM. But, yeah. Treat others with fairness and let honorable deeds be an example to them. What is fair? Is haggling with a merchant fair? Do you have to pay full price for everything? These are really exploitable. I'm just gonna tell you right now. I would not want to be an Oath of Devotion paladin. I wouldn't last very long. And this one could get you in a lot of trouble for other reasons. Obey those who have just authority over you. What counts as just authority? What if they're evil noble and they order you to slay peasants who are weak, and you're supposed to punish those who threaten them? I think you now have compassion going against duty. And which one is the right one to follow? I mean, it doesn't say anything about oaths, except in that this is all the tenets of devotion. So, yeah. These literally can go against each other. I mean, also, what if your oath, or, well, you don't swear an oath to a person, but let's say you are part of a king's guard, and the noble is not the king, but they have authority to speak for the king, and they order you, or maybe the king orders you because of one of their advisors, that you must go and slay the peasants. They have committed an uprising. So, what do you do, Paladin? What do you do? Which oath would you like to break? Yeah, I can see some ways this would be a problem. I don't think they think this through as well as I do. And this is kind of underwhelming for Sacred Weapon. It uses a channel divinity to give you a minute where your charisma modifier is applied to your attack rolls. And the extra damage is radiant. It also sheds bright light like a torch. I don't know if that's worth it. I mean, it's a level 3 ability, but still. Smite of Protection. You can deal temporary hit points when you smite enemies. Though that wouldn't really be useful for very long. It's 1d8 plus the level of the spell slot used for the smite. Since you never get above 5th level spells, the maximum for that is 13? That is not a lot of temporary hit points at, like, 17th level. Which is what you'd have to be able to cast a 5th level smite. Oh, and you apparently turn your holy aura on. Did I miss that? No, there's nothing here about turning it on. Then why... Oh, okay, as a bonus action, you can give additional damage. Or sunlight effect. Okay. And I just noticed something back up here. The aura works. Always. Always. There's... Incapacitation does not turn it off. So, your allies can fight on top of your corpse, and you would still be radiating your aura. Or, you know, you could be a statue, and you're still radiating your aura. Yeah, that's, interesting. Very interesting. I think spell recall, this is the first time we're seeing it. But maybe not. True sight. I think we saw that before. More spells. Banishing smite, blinding smite. A new version of Find Familiar. remote viewing. That's a nice feature. Apparently, they just disappear and can be recalled. Sure, and they have their own stat block now. Oh, and extra dimensional escape. If they would drop to 0 hit points, it instead drops to 1 hit point and vanishes into an extra dimensional space, leaving behind anything it was wearing or carrying. And remains there for up to 1 hour. Okay. Oh, and Find Steed is 2nd level. Yeah. I can see that as like a 3rd level ability. I don't think we really need to wait until 5th level just for that. I mean, it would be higher than their general spells at 3rd level. Yeah, they don't get 2nd level spells until 2nd level. But that's just one of those reasons I don't like the way they do those spells. Yeah, I just... Getting the spell levels so late makes them meaningless. They really need to let you have those spells earlier, at least level-wise, but fewer slots, and the slots slowly build over time. Just to head back up for a second and expand on this. You get 1st level slots at 1st level. I'd give you 2nd level slots at 2nd level, but maybe you don't get any more 1st level slots yet. Maybe you need to wait until 5th level for more 1st level ones. So all of this is brought up. So it's more like that. So you have all 5 spell levels by 10th level, but you keep getting more spell slots as you level up past that point. So you don't get any new spell levels, but you get more slots as you work down. I definitely prefer that. Because most players are never going to get to the point as a paladin where they can do 5th level spells. Spare the Dying is interesting. It now regains 1 hit point for any creature that has the dying condition. And I would think you'd want to make that unconscious, because it doesn't link to anything. That should really link to wherever they have the term for dying. Because you drop unconscious when you get to 0 HP. You're not dying per se, or at least you shouldn't be. I don't know. It's a weird state when you hit 0 HP. I clarify this a lot in Celestia. Because you're making all those saves, the death saves. Are you technically dying while you're making the saves? But you're not once you've made 3 positive saves? Or 3 negative saves? That seems awkward. I think just doing it with unconscious would be fine. This is maybe a little too restrictive. I know they hate to have cantrips that heal. They like healing to be very specific. I think there's other ways to do this. Uh, in fact, I want to do some of those soon for Celestia. Everything else seems about normal. Heroic advantage. Just keep calling it inspiration. Heroic advantage and advantage sound too much like the same thing. Yes, yes. And I don't like only having one at a time. That just leads to people hoarding them into that one situation where it's useful. You get people using them a lot more when they have more than one. I mean, you've seen our games if you've watched any Celestia campaign. I don't track them too much. I leave that to the players. But the players want to use them all the time, usually to get advantage. Even though there's all sorts of things you can do, advantage tops the list. Yes. Incapacitated. Influence. I think we've all seen these before. Yeah. Okay, I think that's it. I'm gonna use the restroom real quick, and then I'll come back, and we'll start with the Black Flag playtest packet number 1.1. All right, be right back.